Nintendo is a business that cares about what its fans want. Players were happy to see Banjo and Kazooie join the fight in 2019, and many more characters are still being added to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate for Nintendo Switch. But there are still a lot of characters we'd love to see added. Also, in an interview, the director of NieR Automata, Yoko Taro, said that he wanted characters from the game to be in Smash Bros. Starting off with NieR Automata director wanting the game's characters in Smash Bros. When Taro sat down to talk about NieR Automata's release on Switch on October 6, 2022, more than 5 years after it came out on the other platforms, he talked about the game's legacy over the past few years. Taro went on to explain why the game was ported to the Switch, but he also said that he wished the team had gotten the game on the Switch sooner so the characters could have been in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Even though being on a Nintendo platform may have helped get characters like 2B and 9S into Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, it's important to note that not all the other characters who made it into the game were on Nintendo platforms to begin with. For example, Joker from Persona 5 was the first DLC for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, but he didn't come out for Switch until October 2022, so that business and licensing decision may have been about more than just putting the game on the console. All of this came out in an interview. When asked about NieR Automata's success in an interview with Nintendo Life, Taro said, "You might not believe this, everyone, but the real reason why NieR Automata was such a big hit is complete chance." Yusuke Sato, who made NieR Automata, was also interviewed. He said that he thought the game was successful because it had great characters, an interesting world, weird music, and a great action game feel. Taro's answer to how it felt to finally see NieR Automata on Switch was more about Smash Bros. Than about the game itself. "I am hugely disappointed that we did not make it in time to get into Smash Bros," said Taro. Even though it's still not clear if 2B and 9S or even A3 would have been in Smash Bros. If it had come out on Switch sooner, the game is still very popular. Even an anime version of NieR Automata is being made, and it will come out in January 2023. Its popularity also led to a remake of the first NieR game, called NieR Replicant, which came out in 2021. Characters like 2B, 9S, and A3 would have fit in well with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. There are so many different things in that list. Even though NieR Automata characters can self-destruct and still exist, most Square Enix fans would have been happy to see one of the main characters from NieR Automata fight alongside Sora, Cloud, and Sephiroth. Even though DLC support for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate has ended, it seems like a lot of gamers are still thinking about NieR Automata. Next, we'll talk about characters we'd like to see in Super Smash Bros. First, Captain Toad. Most Super Smash Bros. Teams are made up of the usual heroes and villains. I want to see another character, like the villager from Animal Crossing, who's a little bit different. Captain Toad may seem harmless, but the idea of him turning into a fighter who can go head-to-head with Bowser, Ganon, or Precious Mario, you know Captain Toad hates Mario for jumping and taking the spotlight, would make me more interested in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate than anything else. He might not have what it takes to be a typical fighter, but I think that makes him more interesting. I'd like to see how Nintendo gets around the fact that he can't jump. Maybe he could throw his backpack into the air and then jump. In Treasure Tracker, he has a pickaxe, a turnip gun that doesn't show up on the screen, and the ability to pull things out of the ground, all of which could be used as weapons in Smash. And thinking about a Treasure Tracker stage that looks the same but messes with the camera's view is even more exciting. Captain Toad may not be as flashy as other names, but he has a unique personality that would make him a good addition to the team. Crash Bandicoot is up next. Crash was never in PlayStation All-Stars, but he deserves a chance to show what he's got. Now that the Insane Trilogy is on Switch, I think it's time for everyone's favorite marsupial to do the same. Crash's moves are easy to imagine. Spinning attacks, throwing Wumpa Fruit, and a final smash that puts a golden Aku Aku mask on his face and charges him up like an Australian Super Saiyan. If Crash joined the team, parts of his games could also be added to the Smash universe. Maybe anyone could pick up a standard mask. Maybe Smash's barrels and party balls could be joined by the game's signature crates. One thing is certain, if Crash is made a playable character, Coco should also be added as an asset trophy. Let's talk stages. The Crash Bandicoot series has been all over the world. From the Great Wall of China to ancient Egypt to a crazy techno-centered future, why not take the warped way of thinking of Crash 3 and have fighters jump from one crazy place to another? I can already see Neo Cortex, floating around in the background of the part of the map that takes place in space. Porky Minch is third. Technically, Porky has already been in Super Smash Bros. He was one of the bosses that Ness and Lucas had to fight in the Subspace Emissary when they were playing Brawl, but that just shows that he would be a great fighter to add to this game. Even though Gygus is the main bad guy in Earthbound, Porky works with him willingly. And the Earthbound sequel, Mother 3, shows that Porky is a smart bad guy who can learn from his mistakes and become even stronger and more dangerous. And his appearance in Smash could bridge the gap between how useless he was when he was whining in Earthbound and how powerful but weak he was in Mother 3. In Smash, he could be a Porky who is just starting to use his own powers, but also uses high-tech tools to beat down his enemies. Most of all, I just want Porky to be in the game so that there is another direct Nintendo connection to the Earthbound/Mother series. I still haven't given up on Mother 3 coming to the West, and the Switch would be a great place for that long-awaited port. Moving on, Chrono. Aside from the great DS re-release and the not-so-great PC port, the Chrono series has been quiet for a long time. But besides the business and development reasons, why the seminal RPG only got one semi-sequel, Chrono Cross, a character crossover with the next Smash Bros, makes some weird sense. Cloud was playable in Smash Bros for Wii U and 3DS, which is Chrono's best argument. The main character of Final Fantasy VII is from a Final Fantasy game that was never on an Nintendo console, so there's at least a precedent for this kind of crossover. The Final Fantasy VII Remake gives us a reason to make Cloud more well-known, so maybe Aeris and Tifa would be a more likely candidate, but Chrono is such a great character from Square's past games and the long time it has worked with Nintendo. Cloud is also a good choice because even though he has a sword like many other characters, he uses attacks that involve more than one character. This gives him his own identity moves and style. Chrono is an unlikely character, especially since, unlike Final Fantasy, he doesn't have an official high-definition 3D model. But Cloud, Ryu, and Bayonetta in a Smash game? Who would have thought? Lastly, Professor Layton. The strict professor with the bag hat might seem like an odd fit for Smash, but Professor Layton is a well-known figure from puzzle games on the DS, and has been waiting for a spot on the SSB roster for a long time. Phoenix Wright, who has been in several vs. Capcom fighting games, or the friendly Animal Crossing villager, are the best examples of how Layton would work in a fighting game. Not having a ready-made assortment of combat abilities doesn't rule out their effectiveness in a wacky game like Smash, and as we've seen in a few of Layton's adventures, he's a good fencer, so he's ready to fight with a weapon when the time comes. And Layton could add fun interactive stages that connect to his other adventures, hand-drawn village backgrounds that open up to reveal puzzles. Maybe the characters on the screen would have to try to solve some of the easier puzzles to keep hazards from hitting everyone on the screen. I've wanted Layton to be added to Smash for a long time, and I don't think it would be too hard to figure out how he'd fit into the game. Unfortunately, guys, that's all the time we had for today. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Till next time, cheers.